Hey booktubers, this is Michael Romeo and I talk about books. Glad you can make it over to my channel. Got a little bit of new content up today and looking forward to sharing it with you. If you're new to the channel, glad you're here. Go ahead and click the subscribe button and become part of the family. And as always, leave comments and click like and all that other fun stuff that you get to do when you're part of BookTube. Today, I'm talking about Quirky Books. And by quirky, and I know quirky can probably mean something different to different people, but for me, quirky is a book that goes off on a tangent that you probably wouldn't expect to find, and also has a sense of humor that is really unique, that you really haven't come across anywhere before. And not only that, but the humor is a little warped, a little bit bent. And I'm going to list for you my 6 favorite quirky books, and because these are 6 books that have brought me so much fun and delight over the years, and I want to share them with you, and maybe you'll read them and have as much fun with them as I did. The first one is the only nonfiction book on the list. It was published in 1986, and it's by Laura Shapiro, and it's called Perfection Salad. It is a history of American cuisine at the turn of the century, turn of the 20th century. And it's an example of the strange things that appear in this book. It starts off with a young housewife who has sent a question to a popular magazine of the time, and this is in the late 1800s, asking about appetizers. And the response that comes back that advises doing ramekins of baked beans surrounded by marshmallows with their centers plucked out and stuffed with raisins. This is an appetizer recommended by a magazine meant to help housewives in the late 19th century. Wouldn't you just look forward to that? It is full of history like you've never seen it. The culinary history of the United States is one of the more colorful histories there is, and Laura Shapiro captures the oddities of it brilliantly. And I mean, if you want to learn how to make a monochromatic meal that is all white and pure looking, you can find out how to do it in this book. Really a delightful read for anybody who's a foodie, anybody who likes weird little history, anybody who likes a good sense of humor. Read Perfection Salad by Laura Shapiro. Second quirky book on the list was published the year before that, in 1985, by T.R. Pearson. It's A Short History of a Small Place, and this is the first book of a trilogy set in the fictional town of Neely, North Carolina, which is located in Carolina's Piedmont area. And this particular book, its quirkiness comes from a character in it who has been a reclusive neighbor for many, many years. Hiding inside her house with her housekeeper slash companion, who decides it is time to re-entry into community, and does so by dressing in bed sheets, standing on a sawed-off tree stump in her yard, and delivering Greek oratory to anybody who will listen, while her pet monkey runs rampant around the yard, and her housekeeper slash companion does her darndest to bring order to the situation. It's the main quirkiness of the book, but there's a lot of other quirkiness in the little town of Neely. A book that had me laughing out loud all over the place. Just the narrative voice of it alone is hysterically funny. And if you buy it for no other reason, I suggest buying it and reading it for the nativity pageant at the local church, and what goes wrong, what goes so phenomenally wrong. in that. It's a short history of a small place, and if you like that one, you can go on to the other 2 books in the trilogy, Off for the Sweet Hereafter and The Last of How It Was. All 3 of the books are absolutely delightful and as quirky as they come. And then I'm including a Pulitzer Prize winner on this list. The Pulitzer Prize winner of 1980 was A Confederacy of Dunces. And this is definitely a quirky book. Another book that I laughed my way through. The character, Ignatius Riley, is somebody I think we've all met at some point in our lives. And he is the personification of every bad trait that can possibly be found in humanity. And he makes fodder of several lives throughout the course of the book, including a very stumbling romance with a young lady, the relationship with his mother, his employer. Just it is a rollicking, darkly comic tale about the human condition. And again, a Pulitzer Prize winner, 1980, A Confederacy of Dunces. The author is John Kennedy Toole. He unfortunately committed suicide before winning the Pulitzer Prize, before the publication of his book even. That's a tragic side of the story, but his book is a bit of quirkiness that was so good it won the Pulitzer. Another book that is a lot of fun, 1972, Bank Shot by Donald D. Westlake, is the 2nd book in the Dortmunder series. Now, anybody would probably argue who's read the Dortmunder series that every book in the Dortmunder series is quirky. I have only read the first 3 so far, but the second one, Bank Shot, definitely takes the cake as far as I'm concerned. Dortmunder is a ne'er-do-well thief who always ends up on the wrong side of the law every time he tries to caper. And he's got a gathering of followers who help him with his crimes. The same cast in every book, including his beloved and a friend whose mother is a taxi driver, and the mother as well is part of the group, as well as several other very colorful characters. What makes this book so quirky is that it's not your ordinary bank heist story. Yeah, they decide to rob a bank, but in this case they decide not to just rob the bank. They want to rob the bank itself. And they're able to do this because the bank is being renovated, and while it's been under renovation, the bank business is being conducted out of a single wide across the street. So their bright idea is they're going to back up a truck to the bank, hook up the trailer hitch, and take off with the bank. Question then becomes, what do they do with the bank after they get there? The book rattles along through mishap after mishap after mishap to what can only be the logical ending of the story. Well worth reading. It's a delightful ride. And then we have in 2012 a book that was released called Let's Pretend This Never Happened by Jenny Lawson. It's the first of 3 memoirs by Jenny Lawson. And she is somebody who all her life has dealt with mental illness and has decided to find the humorous side of growing up and living with mental illnesses. And she nabs the humor in a way that I've never seen anybody tackle subjects before. Let's Pretend This Never Happened. It's those situations in life growing up where we may talk about them at family gatherings, but we don't really talk about them to anybody else. Well, she does, and she does it to our delight. In Let's Pretend This Never Happened, there is one scene fairly close to the beginning, probably the only time in my life that I have been simultaneously grossed out and laughing so hard I couldn't continue reading. And if you read the book, it won't take you long to get to the scene, and you'll know exactly what scene it is. It's Let's Pretend This Never Happened by Jenny Lawson. Again, first of 3 books. The second one is called Furiously Happy, and the last one is called Broken in the Best Possible Way. And then finally, the 6th quirky book on my list that I think everybody should read is The Gun Cellar by Hugh Laurie. And yes, this is the Hugh Laurie of television fame, known for Fry and Laurie and the Jeeves and Wooster series on PBS, as well as House, the crotchety doctor, that had a series for several seasons. That Hugh Laurie wrote a book called The Gun Cellar that opens up with the scene where the main character is pondering how best to break a leg. Do you break it quick and fast in what would be, I guess, the most humane way? Or do you do it really slow and painful? And this is the start of the book. The book rockets along, one scene after another that Hugh Laurie pulls out of his creative head, and goes on to an end that the end, which of course I can't reveal to you because it would be a spoiler, but the ending blew me away. It was not the type of ending I expected, and it was, I guess, and you could say it was a sobering end, but still holding on to the quirky aspects of the writing that has been guiding you all the way through. And that's The Gun Cellar by Hugh Laurie. That was published in 1996. I don't think I said that earlier. So quirky books. They're a lot of fun. They can be literature, as in A Confederacy of Dunces. They can be memoirs, as in Let's Pretend This Never Happened. It can be nonfiction, as in Perfection Salad. As long as that they hit you as quirky, their humor makes you laugh, and they take you to places that when you first started reading the book you really didn't expect to go. So leave your comments in the comment section down below. What are your favorite quirky books? Have you read any of these that I've talked about? What ones would you recommend? Because quirky book is always fun to have. Thanks for being here. Talk to y'all later.